Good morning. Today is a good day to be alive. I'm a little bit earlier than I normally am. Yesterday I was late. If I had prolonged the talk any longer, but thankfully I made it to work on time. But something that's been on my mind, which I don't know why, but sometimes you just get things on your mind. But the thought process here is that sex alone is cheap. In the literal sense and the figurative sense. Condoms cost $1, maybe $1.50. Finding somebody who would like to have sex is probably not that hard. I imagine. I don't know. I've never just tried to pursue someone for that. So I don't know actually how easy it is. But when I say cheap, you can still go pick up an adult worker. I don't know how you would put that. Funny business. Yeah, you can pick up an adult worker for funny business for very cheap. Probably whatever change you can pull out of your pocket. And even if it wasn't uh, just the adult worker on the side of the street, whatever the case is, it's really it's really not that expensive. And it's just to point to the fact that sex is easy and easy to acquire, easy to do, and it can essentially have little to no value when you use it in that sense. But sex is also cheap figuratively in the sense that it's just almost a byproduct of being in a relationship or having no self-control. And it happens so frequently and regularly without much thought. And my thought here is, I like to say back in the old days, and when I say the old days, I mean back when families were formed, were built up intentionally, and sex wasn't done willy nilly. Not that it wasn't fun, it's just that people abuse sex now. But back in those days, people were trying to build families. It was a greatly desired thing to have a family and to build your lineage, to build up the next generation, to have a son that looks up to you, that is like you, have a daughter that is precious and beautiful and worthy of all good things. But now sex is cheap. Sex might even happen accidentally. Who knows? But when you put sex in, when you use it in the confines of a marriage, it has value. It has actually a lot of value. Because a couple who is not married that has sex outside of marriage, yes, may build a relationship, but there's nothing there holding them together. Maybe sex is just, again, a byproduct of being together. We're supposed to do this. We should do this. This is great. This is fun. But when the good times end, nothing is there to hold anybody together. And you can just leave. And I think that's what causes a lot of hurt in people. I've personally seen it hurt people used in a relationship outside of marriage. But when you use it, when you use sex inside of a marriage, it builds up the other person. It builds you up. It connects you deeply. It makes you pursue the other person for more than just sex, but pursue them for a deep, purposeful meaning. And it's something so intimate and deep that truly can only be experienced by using sex in the confines of marriage, because you feel as though you're a unit, you're in a team, you're building up a team. You feel like almost invincible sometimes. And it's a strange thing to compare that to team building, let's say in a workplace. But I will say, when you can add value to your teammates, you feel much better about yourself. When you can work with another teammate cohesively. But obviously this teammate is in a special bond that this team can't split up. This team can't separate. This team is forever. And when you build up your team, it's just you feel one good about yourself, but you also feel great about the overall overview of the team and the mission and the goals. But also, sex inside of marriage alone is still too cheap. So I will say sex inside of marriage with a godly perspective and with God in it helps sex reach its full value, its most value, its biggest value. It helps it reach its full potential, what it was intended to do. And I talked with this to the wife. And the truth of the matter is, anything outside of God is not as valuable as it could be. And that's the truth. Because We were created by God. He made us to be able to do certain things and to enjoy certain things and to live certain ways. And one of those ways is being able to have sex. But he also gave us that freedom to choose whether we would have sex in marriage or outside of marriage. And I believe God also intended sex to be pleasurable for both the wife and the husband. But to the point that I intended, sex outside of marriage does not reach its full potential. But sex inside of marriage has reached its maximum potential to do what it has been created to do. God created the process of sex and the purpose of sex to truly bring together a man and a woman to become one, to form one. By that I mean form that one baby. I believe that's what it means when God says, and the two flesh became one. Not just they came together and became one person, but they also created that one person, or that two people, or three, whatever you are blessed with. And that's the truth too. Outside of a godly marriage, oftentimes sex is used only for pleasure, but also only for pleasure, really, I guess. Because oftentimes people don't want the baby. They don't want to have a baby. But that's also the purpose of sex, was to be pleasurable, to create life, to further the population. Because the Lord did say, go forth and multiply. And when I say sex, I mean any form of pleasure that involves orgasm, or you whatever you choose to say on that. But the pleasure that you would get from it generally. And that was just something that I was thinking on. That sex is such a profound thing, but it's become to be so cheap by the use of people who don't know God and don't want to know God, but they love His creation, but they don't attribute it to Him. Because if they did attribute it to Him, their guilt would consume them. The guilt of knowing that there's a God and that He created them for one man and one woman to be together, to use sex for great pleasure, but also for great blessings of abundance of children. Because, again, you look at people who are rich that don't have family, they are lonely, they're depressed. But then you can look at someone who has a deep network of family and they can draw from it whenever they may need. And they're richly, richly blessed. They may not have the most, but when things are hard, you can draw from the resources. Whether you're hurting financially, whether you're hurting physically, spiritually, mentally. I mean, you can just draw and draw from this well that never dries. But on top of that, I mean, if you've got a godly foundation and you have a wealth of godly people in your life, man, it truly will never dry out, this well. So thanks for listening. Sometimes it's just good to talk, to say what's on your brain, because it feels like sometimes you keep it to yourself and you can't really talk to people because sometimes people get weirded out, or it's too religious, or oh, that's weird, don't talk about sex. But I think we need to talk. People need to talk more. Thank you. Have a good day.